Hello, 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 world. How is everybody today? This is Louise Hicks, your host of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. And thank you all for joining me, supporting me. Please share, please like, please leave your comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say because today I am going to talk about this relationships, these relationships between Black women and Black men. There is so much toxicity on social media with Black men and Black women degrading one another. When is it going to stop? And do you understand the why, the root cause of all of this inappropriate behavior between us as Black men and women, particularly coming from the Gen Xers, the millennials, and the Gen Zs? And in case you don't know what age group these are, let me share with you some information first, and then I'm going to share a couple of videos with you. And I want to unpack, as a baby boomer, what's going on. And I know us baby boomers have our faults as well. However, we don't see the magnitude of baby boomers out here putting Black men and Black women down. That self hate, lack of love for one another. Now, the Gen X generation, that's young people born between 1965 and 1980 who are 44 to 59 years of age. The millennials are 1981 through 1996, 28 to 43 years of age. And the Gen Zs, 1997 to 2012, 12 to 27. But we're not going to focus on the 12-year-olds because we know that they're still learning, and hopefully they have intelligent, mature parents who are teaching them love of self, first of all, and love of one another. So we're going to focus on the adults in the Gen Z who are 18 to 27 years of age. And let me share this video with you first of all. And I'm going to give some insight on what's going on. It's two videos I'm going to share with you to help us to better understand the why and the root cause of why Black men and Black women, particularly in these generations, Xers, Gen Xers, millennials, and Gen Z. So here we go. Let me share the first one with you. And we're going to unpack why this is all happening and what we need to do to stop it, because this is totally inappropriate behavior that needs healing. So let's watch here.
Who are you?
Michelangelo.
Okay, nice to meet
you.
you.
How are
Michael.
you? I've been out with Black women or approached Black women, and before they even knew me, they said, how many kids you got? How many baby mamas you got? Dating outside my race, I haven't had no issues like that at all.
Okay, and you are?
I'm Coro.
Coro.
I've been practicing abstinence for 3 years, 3 years with no sex. I'm looking for someone that can respect my views on this, someone that can love me for me.
And you are?
Bo.
Bo.
Yeah, I don't date Black women now because of past experiences. They like to place that strong personality on you, and sometimes you just kind of, you're just like, stand in a woman's place.
So do you have any idea why you're here?
We share some of the same
Opinions.
About?
Why are Black women so angry?
Was your mother angry?
To a certain degree, yes. She had that anger inside of her, but she made sure that she didn't pass it on to me. I see how she handles that, and she gives off that vibe that I get from women here, but when it came to me and how she approached me and taught me about women, she said, don't deal with this.
That's interesting, because as a Black mother,
Yeah.
my work was to help my son understand it so that he would know how to stand in it with a Black woman. Why are you here?
My situation is a little bit different because I traveled a lot when I was a kid, very talented, very gifted musically. So because of that, when I came back to my neighborhood, when I was dealing with certain Black women, you're different. You talk funny. You dress funny. The music you listen to is funny. I didn't like being because I had flip-flops on or I had a turtleneck, I'm gay. The problem I'm having is just because you're my culture and you're black, you don't get a pass. All the women in my family, I got a side of cousins that made me feel weird about that.
How can anybody make you feel anything? You get to choose how you feel.
You don't know that when you're kids, it's a psychological imprint.
What does that have to do with today?
Now, with a black woman, I have this in my mind before I even talk to you, she's gonna think I'm weird. And that bothered me a lot.
When I went to junior high school, I got bused from Ocean Hill, Brownsville to Flatbush, and they spit on me and called me a nigger. They spit on me. And I was 13. And these were adults, not the children. So my point is this, that don't have nothing to do with who I am today. What is your experience?
A lot of black women, they don't want to talk to me. Some of them don't want to talk to me. Some of them don't want to talk to me because, number one, I'm a God-fearing man. I don't believe, like right now, I'm practicing abstinence. I'm not having any sex whatsoever.
Why you ain't in the church?
I am in the church. I'm gonna tell you about the church women. If you don't have a collar, they don't want to talk to you. I'm straight up.
What does
if you don't have a collar, they
do
don't
you
want to
know
talk
what
to
the
you.
collar represents, though?
I guess it's purity or, leadership or, I don't know, a divine.
How about power?
Yeah.
How about power? That's what it represents.
Okay.
But let me tell you why I've called you here today. I've invited you here because my intention is to dismantle the myth of the angry black woman. I believe it's a myth. As a black woman, I believe it's a myth. I invited you here for a mixer tonight, just to be with some women, all kinds of women, all ages. We all have a story, we all have an experience, and we all get to choose. Tonight you get to choose how you're going to experience these women. But I do also want to thank you for being here. Thank you for being a demonstration, because I know there are hundreds of thousands of black men, all ages, who've had these experiences, and I believe, and it's my intention, for us to heal. Hello, my beloved.
Okay, I'm going to stop right here on that particular uh, video. And I want to share some points with you of what came out of that. And then I'm going to share another video with you to help you to understand what is going on with Black women and Black men that has to do with this by design to keep you divided, to conquer you, to control you, and have power over you. And you Gen Xers, some of us baby boomers too, you don't understand this food talk out here and what you're doing to the Black family structure because you have bought into this by design environment that is toxic. A lot of it came through this hip hop era and all of this behavior, inappropriate behaviors, where we aren't raising our kids anymore. And a lot of it has to do with social media, how it's used. It can be used positive, it can be used negatively. And a lot of you are using it negatively. And a lot of it has to do with your bag, as you call it. I'm 73 years of age as of March 4th, 2024. And I tell you, I am appalled at some of your lack of knowledge and what you're out here saying about one another. Some of you saying that Black women are angry, like you just said. Some are saying Black women have no respect. They're big mouth. They're uh, don't know how to be submissive. I mean, and you don't understand because you don't know the root cause of these inappropriate behaviors. And believe me, Black women are not the only women out here that are doing things. However, you don't hear other ethnic groups speaking of their women like you speak of your women, that you should be protecting, you should be uplifting, you should be inspiring, you should be taking a leadership role in your community, but you don't even know what leadership is, and you don't know the root cause of why you don't understand leadership from a man. and a man's perspective. Now, some of the things you mentioned before I show you and share with you this other video that's going to help you to understand why you are sad. And that is stuck and drowning. And I'm talking to both men, women, both black, because both of you are out here talking food talk about one another instead of inspiring and uplifting. And like I've said, I've told you it's coming from most of these Gen Xers, the millennials, and the Gen Zs who are 18 to 20. What age did I tell you? The 18-year-old to 27-year-olds, I believe, because we're not talking about the 12-year-olds because they're Z's, but they aren't old enough really to really understand. But by the time you get 25, you would think you would have some common sense, but you don't because you don't do your due diligence. You're out here listening to a lot of this hip hop, these rappers who are lost in space themselves because they are out for money only. They don't care about you, but you're listening to them and you're picking up all of this toxic behavior from many of them, not all of them, who are out here spewing, killing up one another, lack of self-love, the drugs, inappropriate behavior toward the Black woman. And it's ridiculous. But in this particular video, you mentioned respect. Respect goes both ways. You don't even know how to give respect. You don't even understand the word of respect from what some of you are out here saying. The other one talking about strong personalities. The next video, you're going to understand the root cause of why some of these Black women took on that strong personality role that we need healing from because it's by design to keep you. If you haven't heard of the Willie Lynch syndrome, you need to go and read it because when you hear the next video, you're going to see what your problem is and why you're out here talking all of this food talk against one another instead of uplifting one another. And I'm just so fed up and I'm so sick and tired of hearing it. As a baby boomer myself, being 73, I came from a village of Black people back in the 50s and 60s that loved one another. We could walk away from. I grew up on Cooper Road, USA, who has become toxic now too because of all of this foolishness that you listen to, particularly from people like Sexy Red and all of these others, and you allow your children to listen to this filth. It's ridiculous. And I'm just mentioning her because it came from some of the others too, like Snoop Dogg had some women out here on chains in one of those award shows that I don't even watch that foolishness anymore because it's toxic too. And the hip hop 50 years of hip hop. And what has 50 years of hip hop brought us? What has it brought to us? Nothing but a lot of inappropriate, sad, and that's stuck and drowning behavior. And I'm this mad Black woman, and that's not for angry. I'm mad as being in motivated and determined to help elevate our people to a higher level of consciousness because we need it. We have lost it, people. And a lot of it had to do with our Gen X's because we, not myself, because I didn't experiment with drugs. I had too much common sense to do that, too much wisdom, too much upbringing from my parents. And I raised my children to be upright citizens, loving one another. I have two millennials, a son and a daughter, and I have one Gen Xers. And if my children were out here on social media talking this food talk and acting a fool like some of you are out here acting, I would have to sit them down and have an adult talk with them because it's an embarrassment what some of you are saying. You need to go and get some therapy. And then the respect, that's the other one. Respect goes both ways, the strong personality. When the next video, like I said, you're going to hear why some of these women took on that strong personality. If you haven't heard of Willie Lynch, like I said, go read it. Go do some reading instead of talking. That's why you got two ears and one mouth. Start listening to some wisdom and some common sense. And then uh, you talk about lack of in this particular video that you just heard with Iyanla Van Zant. Where's your accountability? Where is your responsibility? You're supposed to be leaders but you don't even know what leadership means. And I'm going to share a part two of this about leadership because a lot of you young people, men and women, you don't even understand what leadership is and the role leadership should play in your families. And you, as Black men, it takes two to create a baby and to be a single parent because there's some single fathers too who are doing a fine job with their children. But a lot of you single parents, you've lost it because look what kind of example you're setting for your children. So take some accountability and responsibility and stop all this toxic food talk out here, talking down about one another instead of uplifting, inspiring. You don't even know what the word inspiration means, obviously, because all you do is talk food talk, as my grandmother would say, and put one another down. Nothing uplifting. We got another generation coming up, the 12-year-olds from the Gen Zs, and the other generation, I believe they're called the Alpha generation. And what are you teaching them with this nonsense and all this food talk? Nothing about legacy, nothing about generational wealth, because you're stuck on stupid and you sad. You're stuck in drowning. Wake up because you are a lost generation. It's ridiculous how you're acting out here. And it's all by design. You are stuck in the Willie Lynch syndrome. And let me share with you now this next video that's going to help you to understand because maybe you never heard of Dr. Joy DeGruy. You need to go and get some healing from a good, decent therapy because there's some therapists out here. There's some therapists out here that have the same mentality that you have. I've heard some of them, and they're doing this toxic. I'm going to do a couple of more videos about this. So let me share with you this video to help you to better understand why you are sad and that's stuck in drowning and why you're stuck on stupid. SOS, stuck on stupid. That's right. I said it and I meant what I said and said what I meant. So let's take a listen at this one here. Give me a minute. Let me stop sharing and go back because I want to make sure that the sound is good. Okay, yeah, the sound is good. So let's check this one out.
Post-traumatic slave syndrome is an explanatory theory that really looks at multi-generational trauma. One of the things that's difficult for people is their first response is, oh my God, that happened so long ago. We're talking about people being captured, shipped, sold, beaten, raped, experimented on. And then you have to ask the question, did the trauma continue? Yes, so 300 years of trauma, no help, freed. No help, more trauma. If it's a sustained trauma, then the impact of that is also sustained. When we look at multi-generational trauma, we're looking at people who are maybe victims of natural disasters and their families and their children and generations of folks who have experienced war. And we know that there are residual mental, emotional, traumatic impact. And what I did was I started to look at the African-American experience, starting with slavery, as a real clear, long enduring trauma. I started to see that there were clear connections between that survival behavior and contemporary living in African American experience. I started to see common behaviors that I took for granted as, well, cultural. There's adaptive behaviors, survival behaviors. Well, what are they? Let's just say 2019, you have a Black mother and a white mother. The sons go to school together. They find themselves at a meeting. The Black mother leans over to the white mother and says, I just wanted to mention to you that I noticed that your son is really doing quite well. And the white mother's response is, oh, thank you. She begins to go on and on about he won the science fair, his uncle's an astronaut. She's just oozing. She realizes the Black mother's son is actually excelling her son. And she says, well, wait a minute. Your son's the one that's really coming along. And the Black mother responds, oh my God, he's a handful, but oh, he just works my nerves. Now, when I'm working with African American people, it doesn't matter what the audience is. It doesn't matter what class. If I were to ask, is she very proud while she's saying those denigrating things? And everybody laughs and goes, of course, there's a secret. Because everybody black knows that even though the black mother is going, oh my God, she's really proud. So now let's roll that scene back 300 years. And let's say this black mother is working in the fields and a white slave owner comes through and says, wow, that boy is really coming along. What is she gonna say? No, he's not. He's stupid. He's shiftless. He can't work because I don't want you to sell him. So I denigrate them to protect them. That is called appropriate adaptation when living in a hostile environment. The little white boy, say Timmy, he feels really comfortable and happy about what his mom just said about him. And Trey looks at his mom and wonders, why can't you be proud of me? Because he doesn't understand the secret yet. And by the time he learns the secret, he will have already been injured by it. Post-traumatic slave syndrome. PTSD is a disorder that occurs as a result of a single trauma. You don't even have to be there to actually get a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder. You could just hear about something horrific happening to someone you love. So you have people who have experienced it firsthand, people who have witnessed it in their environment, right? People who are continuing to be oppressed. That exacerbates any possibility of healing. So it's not post-traumatic stress disorder, because then it becomes part of what we call your socialization process. So you begin to normalize a way of living and being, everything from what we eat to what we believe it means to be a friend. All of these things are colored by history. And if you don't understand it, you're going to fold in things that you've just assumed are normal. But post-traumatic stress disorder, exaggerated startle response, outbursts of anger, feeling of foreshortened future. There was a point where there were African-American children in different urban settings that didn't expect to live to be adults because they saw so much death, that they started planning their funerals like at 13, 12, as young as 10. When you start looking at the simple biology, you start looking at the impact of stress on health. And while we look at general stress, we know finances, you have illnesses, all these different things. How about being black? How does factoring in being black in America impact your stress level and therefore your body's ability to operate its own immune system? Because we know it compromises the immune system. Once you understand it, then you can deal with it. Because you see, it's habitual. You socialize. It becomes part of your being. So one of the ways you begin to address that multi-generational trauma is to work with the people it directly impacts, to hear from them. And when you give the people the information, they can use it. I think the first order of business is beginning to have a conversation. And the other is to educate the larger society. You have to stop the assault. So this is not purely a clinical thing. This requires social justice and change. That's where part of the healing is. It's not in a clinical setting or in a pill. It's in fairness and justice and safety and equity. We got to work with some of those clinical things, some of those issues of panic and anxiety. And we also have to deal with the fact that you have a system that is set up to oppress you and to continue to injure you. Both those things have to be dealt with. And they cannot singularly by themselves affect a change. They have to be done collectively.
Okay, let me stop sharing this one because see the contrast between the two videos? These young men that Iyanla was talking about, or talking to, I should say, did you hear their responses? Because they are not educated on the root cause of what's going on in the Black community and why Black women are behaving, the ones that are, the way they behave. It's generational trauma. And unless you're educated, as Dr. Joy DeGruy says, collectively, you're going to continue on this toxic path of self-hate, hating one another, Black women and Black men going at each other because you don't know how to communicate, because you have not healed. You don't understand the why and the root cause. And it has to do with this right here. If you would read this book, The Willie Lynch Syndrome and the Making of a Slave, you will see who you are. You are a slave. And it's all by design. You have become enslaved. You just don't have the chains and the shackles. And it's because you make excuses. As Iyanla said, you are an adult now, but you're still out here talking this food talk against one another because you have not been educated, because you're refusing and you're in denial on who you are. You don't even know who you are. You don't understand the dynamics of why you are out here with this self hate, hating on one another, the Black woman, the Black man. And like I said, mostly you Gen Xers, your millennials, and your Gen Zs that are 18 to 27 or so. You need to go and stop being SOS, stuck on stupid, SAD, sad and drowning, and listen to the wisdom of older, intelligent Black boomers and those prior to boomers who are still living. We didn't have a lot of this toxicity going on in our communities. And again, I am this mad Black woman, motivated and determined to support and help elevate our community to a higher level of consciousness. I'm Louise Hicks. Please subscribe, leave your comments, give a like, share, 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 because we need more videos like this to help educate you young people because you're tearing down. You're not building. You're not creating any generational wealth. You're not creating any legacy. And always remember, it takes two to make a child. And you, as Black men, need to stop running away from your responsibility and learn what leadership is. And I'm going to give you a video, and I'm going to do a video about leadership coming from a Black man that's no longer with us. However, he has given some great insight, and his name is Miles Monroe. I'm going to share with you some of his videos about leadership. And as to you Black women, you need to start listening as well and doing your due diligence research and find out why you have this inability to communicate with one another on a civilized adult relationship basis, because we have to bring our Black family structure back. And there are some that are doing an exceptional job with their children, teaching them the root cause of this inappropriate behavior. And I always like to mention Dr. Claude Anderson. For those of you who do not know who he is, I have met him. I've read his books, Black Labor, White Wealth, Powernomics. There's some others out here that you need to read because you will find out why you are suffering from self-hate. Because a lot of this stuff, for the most part, is self-hate. How can you have a Black mother to bring you into the world and then you're out here talking this food talk? You're talking against your own mother, both of you, women and men, with all this food talk, as my grandmother would say. So stop it. Go and get some healing because it's trauma. And again, I'm Louise Hicks. Please subscribe, share, give it a like, leave your comments, because we are a doomed community unless you, Gen Xers, you millennials, and you Gen Zs, 18 to 27 or so, that are out here talking this food talk. You're listening to all of this food talk. These people are not leaders that's out here uh, instigating all of this craziness. They're not leaders, but you're following them. So start listening to somebody that has some common sense, because you guys are lacking common sense that are doing this. And it's not all the Gen Xers, not all the millennials, and not all of the Zs. And I can attest to that. I have a daughter that's 34, about to be 35. She is highly intelligent, has her own business. She runs her father's businesses. And She is not a toxic female. She is a woman of intelligence. She is with a Black man that's of intelligence. They have great communication, a loving relationship. Because stop saying, oh, I don't date a Black woman because of this and that and the other. Oh, I don't care. The Black women go, I don't care if you don't because I don't want anything to do with you anyhow. I mean, this is toxic and it's by design to keep you, like I told you, and a white man even shared this with me because they know what they're doing, the white supremacists. It's all about power, conquer, control, and kill your spirit. And that's what you are allowing when you're out here talking this food talk and the people that are listening to it, these are not your leaders, nor are these entertainers, these rappers that are talking this food talk and rapping all this foolishness. And you're out here listening to it, wanting you to self-hate, to kill one another, to get high on drugs. Who bring drugs into this country? You don't, because you don't even have the power. You need to be trying to get some power. There's a scripture, start flipping the script. There's a scripture in 2 Timothy 1:7 says, God has not given me the spirit of fear, but of power. Power comes first, then love, then a sound mind. But you people have none of it because you are SOS, stuck on stupid, and you're sad, stuck in drowning. You have no power. You have no love for yourself or others within your ethnic group. And you're not of sound mind because if you were, you wouldn't be out here spewing all this food talk against one another. Why you don't date Black women, especially some of these Black men? You're supposed to be leaders, but you don't know what a leadership is. So do some due diligence research and stop getting out here acting a fool, talking all this food talk, SOS, stuck on stupid, SAD, sad and drowning. And this is coming from a mad Black woman, Louise Hicks. Subscribe. And that's why I do this. Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour, because we need to elevate ourselves spiritually, intellectually, economically, socially, mentally, physically. You need all of these. And I do have a bachelor's degree in social work. Plus, I have 73 years of wisdom. I was born a warrior for justice. That's why my name is Louise, Warrior for Justice. So get a grip on yourselves and stop the food talk. And for those of you who are listening to all of these podcasters out here who are talking this food talk with the self-hate, stuck in the Willie Lynch syndrome, stop following these people and follow some of the people that have some common sense and some knowledge and some wisdom, because all they're looking at is the money they're bringing in from you who are following and listening to them when they are not giving you anything to uplift you or to benefit you for legacy, for generational wealth, and to unify us as a people, as Dr. George C. Frazier says, connecting the dots. So let's start connecting the dots. And again, I'm Louise Hicks, your host of this podcast, Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. Please share this video, give it a like, leave your comments, and let's stop, as my grandmother would say, the food talk and start exercising some positive power, some sound mind. You got a brain, start using it. Start using that brain that you have, God has given you. Use it to elevate, not to denigrate, because that's what you're doing. And that's why you're SOS, stuck on stupid, and that's why you're sad, stuck in drowning. And that's why you are in invisible chains, because you are stuck in post-traumatic slave syndrome, the Willie Lynch environment. So, with that said, again, I'm Louise Hicks, your host of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. Subscribe, like, comments, and thank you all for all of my new subscribers, my new supporters, my new followers. I appreciate you. I love you. And please share, 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 because we need to start exercising the power that God has given us. Because a lot of this food talk that some of you podcasters are doing is for lack of fear and self hate, because massa has you right where they want you to be. SOS, stuck on stupid, and sad, stuck in drowning. So wake up, my people. Wake up. And always remember, as I close my videos, your power lies within you. Let it loose. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Louise Hicks here, the mad Black woman, motivated and determined to support and elevate my people to a higher level of consciousness so that we can build together and stop tearing down one another, because it is toxic. And by all means, that generational trauma can be eliminated once you are healed, because Black men like this, like the ones I just described, and like the ones that are saying all this stuff, they won't date Black women, you're broken. Black women who are spewing all of this self-hate and talking about Black men, you're broken. Get some healing from a qualified therapist. And like I said, I have a bachelor's degree in social work, and it's from California State University, Long Beach. Plus, I have a PhD, a PhD. That's what I have. And I don't need a PhD because I have lived long enough to acquire a PhD, and I understand what is going on with our people, that we need uplifting and elevation. And again, remember, I'm going to repeat this. Your power lies within you. Let it loose. Until next time, share, subscribe, leave your comments, and by all means, thumbs up, leave the likes. See you soon. Much love.